Hey guys, welcome to this session by Intellipaat. In this session, we're going to do a comparative analysis of DevOps and Site Reliability Engineering, or commonly called as SRE. And before moving on with this session, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already so that you don't miss our upcoming videos, and also leave a like to our videos if you enjoy our content. Now let's just take a quick glance at what we're going to do in this particular session. First, we'll understand what is DevOps, why do you need it, and also the DevOps lifecycle. Then we'll understand what is SRE and why do you need it. Once that is done, we'll basically understand the differences between DevOps and SRE. And that would be the end of this particular session, guys. So now without any further delay, let's begin with this comparative analysis.
So what is DevOps? So you must have heard about DevOps a lot, right? So there's a lot of DevOps roles, DevOps Clouds role, AWS DevOps. So a lot of jargon surrounding this one particular word. So let me begin by giving you some details into why DevOps was born in the first place. So initially when software development was done, there was a lot of problem with respect to the development team and the operations team. What do I mean by that? So there are people who create these features, the software that you see. There are some people who are responsible in creating those softwares, and there are some people, other people, who are responsible for hosting it, maintaining it, and making sure that it is available to all of the users everywhere. Now the problem with this was the simple fact that the dev and the ops team, they used to function individually, like apart from each other. So that led to a lot of clashes because the development team always wanted to push a lot of new features, and whenever you write a single line of code also to a new developed feature, it exposes it to a lot of bugs. That's why operations team did not prefer that we move at such a pace without testing and probably going through everything. So there's a lot of clash between the development and the operations team, and that is when DevOps came into the picture. So DevOps is a software development methodology which basically improves the collaborations between the development and the operation teams by using various automation tools. Now these automation tools are implemented through various stages which are called as a DevOps lifecycle. So when they found out that they have this problem between the development and the operations team, that we are not able to function at the most prime efficient level that we can, and there is a lot of constraint with respect to the environmental differences and a lot of different problems like testing and integration. A lot of problems are there with the development and the operations team. That's why someone decided, like, okay, we need a certain set of methodologies, some certain ideas, some tools, something that we follow. Okay, this is the pattern that we'll follow, that will develop and integrate the relationship between the development and the operations teams, and hence the entire product that you are building, or entire software that you are building, the end result will be very seamless and probably bug free, and it will be much better for everyone who is involved, may it be development team, the operations team, or the end users or the customers who are using your software. That is why DevOps was implemented. So DevOps is a methodology. It's not one particular technology. It's a set of ideas or principles collaborated with some automation tools which are designed in such a way that you can bring in all of those factors together. Now, there is a lot of different things which are involved in DevOps, right? So you have some pillars in DevOps which goes like far beyond. So there is continuous development. So they believe that it should be a continuous form of development, continuous testing, continuous integration, deployment, and monitoring. So DevOps methodology believes that we constantly build on the software, we constantly test whatever we have built, and if it is working properly, then we check for the integration with the features that we have developed on the new environment, if everything is working and properly and integration. And whenever these things are created, we constantly deploy everything and we do constant monitoring of these tools. So everything is being monitored in DevOps. So that is one of the methodologies or the pillars of concepts behind DevOps. So how does that look like in the software development architecture or in the flow? So this is what the overall view looks like when you're talking about DevOps. So you have continuous development where our developer is always developing, and there is version control system which is responsible for integration as well. And when the integration is done, it is doing constant deploying, and there is testing server and there is production server. So there are two different kinds of servers. You do not directly make a code and you push it to your customers, right? You test it out first. So there is continuous testing involved. Once it passed the continuous testing section, and there are some feedbacks on the testing server of they will monitor and they'll do a lot of different things, and if it, let's say, does not surpass all the tests, then those tests are given as a feedback through the monitoring. Okay, this is not functioning properly. Developer has to again change things and make it interactive, and everything should work together. It should be bug free, and once it absolutely in their opinion that okay, this is something that we can push out to the customers, then you push it to the production server, and that is where you have everyone working. So if this is an overall view of how it looks like on a software development architecture wise, but Talking about if you had to put it into words, this is what it'll look like. So you have plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor, right? So you have these ideologies, and you can see where there is continuous development. So you have in the planning and coding phase, you have continuous development. In release and deploy, there is continuous deployment. There is operate and monitor, that is continuous monitoring. And you're testing while building and testing, and all of this is done together at the same point of time, and that brings through the continuous integration idea. So DevOps is an idea where you have all of these things being done constantly, and this is done by leveraging with a lot of tools which are out there. So you have various different tools to remove the environmental dependencies, to remove the integration problems, to remove monitoring problems. So all of these tools, they come together and they help you plan a seamless software development idea, right? So that is what DevOps is. So what is SRE? So in around 2000s, someone in Google realized that, okay, DevOps as good at it as it is, there is something else that can be done, right? So there is a lot of different ideas which were flowing, and in Google, they form up with this idea called as an SRE. Now, SRE is a different job role altogether. So let's start with what is SRE. So SRE basically stands for Site Reliability Engineering. So basically, it is a software engineering approach to operations where an SRE team uses software as a tool to manage systems, solve problems, and automate the operation tasks. So basically, SRE takes the tasks that have been historically done by the operation teams, often manually, and instead of giving them to engineers or op teams who use software or automations to solve these problems, and they do it themselves and manage the production environment. What do I mean by that? So in DevOps, what we were doing so far is we had a separate dev team, a separate ops team, and these people were working independently of each other, but leveraging different tools to eliminate the differences and the disparity. Now what Google started suggesting is, instead of doing that, or even if we are doing that, what we can do is we can introduce a new role, someone called as an SRE, who is a site reliability engineer. And the job of this guy is, like, this guy has some operations background as well and software development background as well. So he's a combination of two. So he understands both the sides of the picture. So you put this guy in the software development team, and this guy can solve all of the problems that were being initially being addressed by the operation team, and this guy can help you out in both domains because he understands what is going on. So basically, through this guy, what we can do is we can eliminate a lot of workflow problems, a lot of operation problems. We can eliminate a lot of different things because this guy has the knowledge of both of these domains. So that is what SRE is as an idea.
Just a quick info, guys. Test your knowledge of DevOps by answering this question. Which of the following is a DevOps tool? A. Git, B. Jenkins, C. Docker, D. All of the above. Comment down your answers in the comment section below. Whoever gets the correct answer will win 5,000 points in Intellipaat wallet. Subscribe to Intellipaat to know the winners. Now, let's continue with the session.
So SRE teams are basically responsible for how the code is deployed, configured, and monitored, as well as it checks for the availability, latency, change management, emergency response, as well as the capacity management of the service in production. So whatever you have services which are running in the production, the guy is responsible to see how it is deployed, how it is being configured, whether or not it is being monitored or how it is being monitored. Not just that, it has to look into the latency, change management, as well as the emergency responses. So this guy is responsible for all of the different factors which are in between the software as well as the operations team. So this guy has to be having a background where he has knowledge of both of these domains to do all of these tasks. And it's a very specific kind of role in every different team of the job of the SRE. So how does he do that? So how do you go about doing all of these things? So basically, to determine the SRE, how it works, it helps to determine the new features that are being launched. They test it across few different metrics, if you will. So that they check it across these things called SLI, and SLO, which basically stand for service level agreements, and then there is service level indicators, and then there are service level objectives. So what you do is basically you have three different ideologies about how your system should be to the end user, right? So you have that kind of an agreement. So you put your objectives, and you set, okay, I can have this amount of downtime or this much error I have been allowed, and you do that as a service level objective. And then there is a service level indicator. Okay, this is the thing which is supposed to be our endpoint. And then you have an agreement with, let's say, a third party where you tell them that, okay, when you're using my software, And this, you try to keep it a little more flexible, because in this one you will be paying money to the third party. So you tell the third party, okay, you're using my services. What I'll do is, if I get, let's say, more than 30% of the downtime, for every downtime that I'm for every minute or every second or whatever the clause may be, for this I will be paying you money. If my software underperforms, I will be paying you money. So you try to plan out your software that you're designing and whatever the features that you're building around these metrics, rather than seeing if it is working properly. Because SRE believes that that 100% reliability of a software is a myth. They don't believe that 100% reliability will be there for every software. You do not need that. What you need is that this kind of failure will be there. So you plan for the failure, you accept this failure, and you work around it. For example, let's say there are a lot of different kinds of failures, and it depends on how you define that failure, right? There are some failures which may go unnoticed to your end customers as well. So let's say if there was a downtime of 1 microsecond, right? Okay, nobody will notice this, but your monitoring, your tools will tell, okay, your service went down. Even if it was for 1 microsecond, it did go down, right? So there are certain amount of failures which is accepted. Now, either what the ideology of SRE says is that DevOps says that, okay, we have to eliminate that kind of things. We have to eliminate that kind of reliability problems that we want it to be there 100%. But what SRE says is that we don't need that. We don't need that kind of the level of reliability. You need to build out features in such a manner that it crosses the threshold of what is expected out of your software, and it basically removes time and efficiency. So let's say if I am the amount and the money and the energy that I'm putting into eliminating that 1 microsecond of the problem, which goes unnoticeable, I do eliminate that problem, but the amount of money that I'm putting in, that is of no value to me, because nobody was actually noticing it. It wasn't something which was actually valuable to my industry, but I did eliminate the problem, but the money invested in doesn't make sense, because that is the amount of failure that could be accepted. So in SRE, you build around those failures, you accept failures as it is, you build around those factors, and you see what can be done. So that is the idea behind the SRE. Right?
Okay guys, a quick info: if you're looking for an end-to-end training in DevOps, Intellipaat provides a complete DevOps certification training, and those details are available in the description box below, and you can check it out. Now let's continue with this session.
So let's move on and compare these two terms very quickly. So what is DevOps and what is SRE? So let's start with the approach to solving the problem. So DevOps believes in reducing the organization silos. What do I mean by that? So organization silos basically stands for a process or any kind of methodology where the systems which are involved are working independently. So DevOps believes that we can remove these independently working system, we can integrate them together, and it does it through leveraging some tools, right? So that is the idea of DevOps. Whereas SRE says that let's share the ownership with the developers by using the same tools and same techniques, and let's put one guy in there who will share these responsibilities as well. So you share the ownership of the entire product. Instead of having individual people who are just responsible for their particular features, you put in people who are responsible for both the end of the thing. So they increase the ownership of the product that you are building. So that is the basic approach to the problem of SRE and DevOps. How do they approach the problem of, removing the problem between development and the operations team? The next thing that we do is dealing with failures. Now, in DevOps, failures is accepted as normal, right? Because they are continuously testing. There is a testing environment. You do everything. You accept the features and you continuously work in eliminating it. Whereas in SRE, you have a formula for balancing the accidents, failures, and against the new releases. So whenever you're trying to build a new product, you have a certain amount of limit. You pre-plan it. Okay, this is the amount of failure that I'm going to be accepting. Whereas in DevOps, you try to test out everything in the DevOps testing environment, and you try to fix everything before you push it out. While doing SRE, you think about, okay, this much failure I can maybe deal with, and I can work around those formulas. So you work with those formulas. That is how these two are different in dealing with failures. Next one is implementing features. Whereas DevOps believes in implementing gradual change. As I mentioned before, right? We have a complete pipeline where we have people developing, and then they are building, and then they are testing, and then it goes to again a review phase. Then you redo the changes that you have found faulty in the testing phase, and then you slowly and steadily, and then you push it to the production server. So that is the idea that was believed by the dev and ops team in the initial stages, because the operations team couldn't keep up with the features which the dev team was pushing. And the more you write, the more number of features you push in, the more you make it vulnerable to bugs of different kinds, right? So every piece of line you write in a code is a potential bug. A lot of people say that, but having said that, so that was the idea. So they wanted to make this change of number of features that they are pushing out very gradual, so that you want to test out everything and then you push it to the environment, so that the end user doesn't face any kind of a downtime. Whereas the SRE says that you have to balance it out, right? You cannot be pushing so many features and bringing down time to your customers, where let's say if I'm a customer, if I am using a software and the website keeps on going down again and again and again and again after some release of feature, and you'll be like, okay, that's not working out, right? So you don't want that. But at the same time, you cannot be taking like a year and a half for producing some product. So people are waiting for the product to be out there, or the feature to be out, and you're taking too much time in implementing it. So people get frustrated and they become, they want to hurry the process. They want the feature. So there's this balance between the features that users expect you to put out and the reliability they expect of your software as well. So SRE believes that we should move quickly, reduce while creating the features. We can move quickly while creating features. We can create a lot of features, but while implementing it, the idea behind it would be we will reduce the failure costs. That is the idea behind. We will try to keep the money that it costs us for, let's say, the risk to reward feature in here is something which is valuable. So you will put out a lot of features, but you will keep in mind about the failures. So you put out the features quickly, but you keep in mind about the failures and reducing the cost of failures while doing so. So that is what the ideology is for SRE and DevOps. The next one is the methodology. DevOps versus SRE. The methodology, the difference is the DevOps believes in leveraging tools and automations, right? So you have two separate teams still, but what you do is you have one set of team, they are working with leveraging the automating tools which are out there. So you use different similar kinds of environment, whereas SRE relies on the site reliability engineers or the SRE within the development team to remove the communication and the workflow problems. So instead of leveraging tools and automation tools and or different tools which are out there, you depend on people and you depend on sharing the responsibility for the code that you are putting out, and you share the ownership and you work with the problems. So that is the difference between the methodology. Then there is another methodology which is there for the DevOps and SRE, which is DevOps believe in measuring everything. So they believe in measuring everything which is out there, whereas SRE believes that operations is software problem as well. So what you do is you define prescriptive ways of measuring some particular things like availability, uptime, outages, toil, etc. And you measure these particular factors and you work on these particular factors only. Whereas DevOps believe in measuring everything. So that is another methodology difference between DevOps and SRE.
Just a quick info, guys. Test your knowledge of DevOps by answering this question. Which of the following is a DevOps tool? A. Git, B. Jenkins, C. Docker, D. All of the above. Comment down your answers in the comment section below. Whoever gets the correct answer will win 5,000 points in Intellipaat wallet. Subscribe to Intellipaat to know the winners. Now, let's continue with the session.
So with that, we have come to the end of the comparison. So let's quickly have them summarized as to what our conclusion is. So the conclusion being the both SRE and DevOps basically work to bridge the gap between the development and the operations team. They want to deliver service faster in a more efficient way. The idea is the same, to bridge the gap and make everything more seamless and better, right? SRE relies on the SRE engineers, which is the site reliability engineers within the development team who also have an operations background to remove these problems. Whereas DevOps depends on automation tools and different powers of leveraging different tools which are out there to solve their problem. So that is one point of difference. In terms of code and new features, DevOps focuses on going through the development pipeline very efficiently. So I showed you the pipeline initially. So that pipeline of production server, testing server, and goes through the continuous integration and testing. It believes in going through that pipeline efficiently to put out their products, while SRE is focused on balancing the site reliability with creating new features. So what is the downtime and measuring these factors, as I mentioned, toil and the uptime and latency and all. So you measure these factors and then you apply features based on that. Now, SRE can help DevOps teams whose developers are overwhelmed by operations and tasks and need someone with the more specialized skill with respect to the operations. So what I believe is SRE and DevOps can go hand in hand, and DevOps team can have an SRE personnel embedded in them, and that can smooth things along both the ways. So I think these two things are not that much different. They are looking to reach to the same goal. But if you think about it, SRE is a way that you implement DevOps, right? So you implement DevOps through that. So basically what you are looking out for here is that your DevOps team can also have a specialist in SRE, a person who knows both dev and ops operations, and he has an operations background and the software development background. He's someone who's specialized with these skills to solve these problems. So you can have a guy in there, and these two things can go hand in hand and make your entire software development methodology more smooth. So that's that. So how to get started? So we've learned about what is DevOps and what is SRE. What if you wanted to get started with DevOps? So we at Intellipaat, we understand that an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. That's why we provide a lot of free content in the form of blogs and YouTube tutorials. And you can find out a lot of different technologies like DevOps, SRE, and AI, ML on our blogs and our YouTube channel as well. We post long tutorials up to 11 hours on our YouTube channel, and we have detailed blogs on our blog page as well. So if you're interested, you can go check them out. But if you are someone who is looking to get trained by us, who wants to be able to ask their doubts in a one-on-one session, being taught by a live instructor who is an industry expert and wants project works and lab exercises and practice and follow a guided path along the way, then what I would recommend is going and checking out our website. We do provide training for various different technologies which are out there, so you can go check them out as well if you are interested in that. With that, I think we have come to the end of this session. So if you have any questions about this session or any other session that we have had, the numbers are on your screen, so you can reach us out on there, or you can write to us at sales@intellipaat.com. Other than that, you can put your comments down below and we'll be happy to assist you.
Okay guys, a quick info: if you're looking for an end-to-end training in DevOps, Intellipaat provides a complete DevOps certification training, and those details are available in the description box below and you can check it out.